call it the Eastman strategy, more or less.
Yep.
Pence didn't know anything about the Eastman strategy.
What? What? That's okay. That saying that alone just means you're bad faith. Like, there's no shot. If you say something like that, you should not be talking about the subject. If you want to see more content like this, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Rinyald. And if you disagree with anything in the video, make sure you join the Discord and we can have a chat sometime. So a little backstory on what this is. There's this dude who came in to debate me the other day on January 6th. It's not up on the channel yet, but it should be probably tomorrow or the day after.
There were no fake electors. This is something that was created by the media. Brother.
There were people who were not. There were people who were not certified electors that signed their name on fraudulent certificates of the vote.
Absolutely not.
There were.
Absolutely not. So
there absolutely were.
Hold on. We do this all the time, right? So I even on my YouTube Citizens Debate, we go over every signature, every seal of ascertainment. We go through the entire thing, and if you watch that, get back to me after that and tell me there were fake electors. This is a fundamental misunderstanding of what people have an idea of what happened that day. It's crazy, man. I mean,
that didn't answer the question,
crazy.
by the way. Do you think that the vice president has the unilateral ability to determine which electors are valid? He came up and he basically said, you know, I brought up the January 6th thing because obviously I always do. And he said, if you want to debate J6, I've got everything. I've debated it the whole time and all the receipts are up on my YouTube channel. So I went to his YouTube channel. It's just a bunch of VODs of TikTok debates. So just right off the rip, I've talked to a lot of these people already. So that puts my hopes pretty low. Because SK, I know. And Millie, I know. Because those were both people in... those were both people in the Perkins-Coie debate. They said... oh shit, what was it? It was like, I think the question was, why should we punish somebody without, charging them? Both agree that Perkins-Coie has no allegation?
Stop pivoting.
Can we both agree that Perkins-Coie has no allegations?
If it's not Perkins-Coie, then who are the legal fees going to?
It doesn't matter. You're talking about punishing Perkins-Coie.
Yes, it does. Yes. Because the whole
the money went to
the
Perkins-Coie.
FEC complaint and the fine is the falsification of business records and campaign finance records.
Right, and they got
misallocating legal fees instead of opposition research. So who's the legal fee?
You realize
and they paid their penalty. And they got punished and they paid the penalty.
You realize
so
Perkins-Coie is Michael Cohen in the hush money case, right? You realize
they
Perkins-Coie
they
did
were
exactly
penalized
what
and
Michael
they paid
Cohen.
their fee.
You realize that Perkins-Coie did exactly what Michael Cohen did.
This is a lot of
I want you guys to listen to the words that are coming out of your mouth.
You guys are pivoting.
Yeah, this is very fun pivoting. I just want to be clear that we all agree. Do we all agree? Do we all agree that there are no allegations against Perkins-Coie right now? No legal allegations against Perkins-Coie? Do we agree?
Yeah, you said right.
Okay, we do agree. So why are we punishing them?
Wait, and also, again, apply every argument you're making, and then you'll understand how the right feels.
Why are we punishing them when they're not accused of anything?
Should apply to Michael Cohen.
Why are we punishing them of something that they're not accused of?
Because they haven't officially been accused?
Yes. Why would we punish them for something they're not accused of? They were, they couldn't wrap their head around that question. So it'll be a good one. So I guess we'll see. I don't know.
Then whenever he tried to get it back, even though they let him look at it, he tried to take it, and they told him that it is agency property now and nobody can have it. And he's like, no, it's not. It's declassified. This is Trump's property. So it goes even further than that.
Can I stop you real quick? What was Kash Patel's relationship in that? I didn't catch that.
Right now they're talking about
Kash
Russiagate
was selected to be one of
bullshit.
Trump's PRA representatives because of this binder of information that the DOJ got back into their possession the day Trump was leaving office. And if you don't think that whole thing that happened in Florida had anything to do with this binder of information, I've got some oceanfront property for you in Arizona.
It was binders full of women. So prior to that,
Kash Patel, prior to that, worked closely with Devin Nunes through all of the investigations into this stuff. So Kash Patel is a lot like John Ratcliffe in terms of having a bird's eye view of everything that happened from start to finish. Kash Patel said multiple times that there is still an enormous amount of information that they put in the Nunes memo and in the report that they wrote that has yet to be released, and it will be coming out.
Yes.
So this is why they're attacking him.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So listen, you have to zoom out, zoom out to like
Conspiracies.
30,000 feet now,
Let's
right?
go.
So all the things that we know about Russia collusion and everything that happened as a result of that. So, I mean, the Crossfire Hurricane and Russia collusion and then the Ukraine impeachment, everything, it was just one continuous federal, overstep of the deep state, of the entrenched bureaucrats that said, we are not going to...
How many more talking points do you think you can get out? It's these entrenched Russia, laptop from hell, bureaucrats, deep state, Project 2025, Crossfire Hurricane.
Allow this man to run this country. We are going to do it. We're going to stop him. We're going to work against him at every possible turn. So they're freaking out at this point because they know that the people that Trump is appointing now are the ones who know exactly what all these people did. That's what the freak out is about. So that's why you have, if Trump wins this election, that's why we have the Project 2025 lie. That's why we have, Trump's a racist, Trump's a fascist, Trump is going to end democracy as we know it, because if he gets...
Which, by the way, about 7 months in, you would think that would be a pretty big policy point. You would think that they would be hitting it. I don't know why I'm so cold. You think they'd be hitting at that, but the only thing we've gotten was that one memo from Tulsi Gabbard, which was complete and utter horseshit. There was nothing. It was absolutely like the biggest nothing burger I've ever seen in my life.
Gets back into office, which he is going to, the people he's going to put in charge of those agencies, which he's doing, John Radcliffe at CIA, you're going to see Kash Patel as the director of the FBI, but he can't do it. He can't appoint him yet until Wray quits. It's not a cabinet position. Wray has to actually quit or Trump has to fire him before he can be replaced. So these people that know all of these facts, that know all of the crimes that people like Andrew McCabe and Peter Strzok and Lisa Page and all of the people that worked for them that allowed this to happen, that sought and received these warrants where they lied in the warrants. They lied in the applications to
FISA warrants, true.
Warrants. Everybody knows that when these people that were, Trump, that you called Trump.
By the way, people always bring up the FISA warrants as if there wasn't justice on the FISA warrants. They literally got Kleinsmith. I don't know why they always bring this up as evidence of like this big conspiracy of these unaccountable Washington bureaucrats. We got Kleinsmith. We have. The only reason you know that they were lying in order to secure FISA warrants is because of the investigation into it, because of, I think that was Crossfire Hurricane that found it, and because of the federal charges that came after.
Trump loyalists? Well, they're Trump loyalists because they know the coups that the entrenched bureaucracy ran against the sitting president. That's why they're pissing their pants.
That's right. All right, Dan.
And
so
we're going to get our hands back on those documents. And the second that he gets back in those office, those documents are going to get released. And and that's when the shit shows.
7 months in, they're not here.
That's why you have 2 assassination attempts, and I don't think they're done.
Yeah, that's right.
By Republicans, by the way. Don't forget, don't let them co-opt this narrative, all right? Because they've done really good at it. Those were Republicans that tried to kill Donald Trump, okay? I don't know why we're letting them dictate the narrative so hard on this. The 2 potential assassination attempts, which, by the way, the one was laughably far off, all right? Like, the one wasn't going to happen. We all knew. Only one really, really credible assassination attempt, and they were both Republicans. They were both disaffected, never Trumper Republicans. So I don't know why we're dictating the narrative so hard to make this seem like it's a deep state, like, Democrat ploy.
On the point that you tried to make earlier, and
unless they say like the deep state transcends party grounds, because they probably believe like Bill Barr is a part of the deep state too. So
steer you in a slightly different direction. The idea that Donald Trump orchestrated an I word on J6, I'm sure, is where you're going, and that's probably, at least maybe I'm guessing here, but I think that that's the perspective you have that makes you say that Donald Trump is an existential threat to democracy. So the question that I have is, and I ask this to everybody that I talk to about it, why would Donald Trump organize an event on January 6th that would disrupt the legal process that he was using in Congress to make formally what's the word I'm looking for?
Challenge.
Object.
Keep narrativizing, all right? Don't go into whatever you do, don't go into any detail, okay? Make sure you just keep narrativizing, all right? If you keep narrativizing and don't go into any detail, maybe they'll buy it. This was an illegal process. And the reason that J6 kicked off, by the way, was because Mike Pence, well, I don't know if I meet the incitement thing, that he like meant for the crowd to go over there, but I know for a fact that once the crowd was over there, he was happy with it. And the reason that happened was because Mike Pence, the days prior and in the morning on J6 before he took the stage, this is why he told the one staffer to reinsert the attack lines against Mike Pence into the speech. It's because Pence refused to go through with it, because they had the plan to use Mike Pence to decertify the electors. And once Mike Pence made sure to say, hey, I think this is illegal, I can't do it. And once Mike Pence's legal counsel told him the same exact thing, that's when the speech became much more antagonistic against Mike Pence, and when Donald Trump became kind of more comfortable with letting the violence go on.
Electoral college votes that were being cast and debated on January 6th. Because if you remember the timeline, right, the multiple media outlets had been reporting for days, if not weeks, that senators and congressmen were coming together and they were going to formally object to electors. They had met the obligation of the presidential or of the Electoral College Act rules that said you had to have one senator, one House member in writing formally file an objection. And then there's a constitutional process that plays out.
Because in order to successfully object to a slate of electors through the ECA, I'm pretty sure you need 2/3. And like the idea that Trump would be able to get 2/3 of the active Congress in order to actually object to the electors is just, that's highly, highly, highly unlikely. There's no shot that would have happened. And Trump knew that wouldn't have happened. That's why they devised the whole plan of making Mike Pence do it unilaterally, because they knew that the actual processes by which the Electoral Count Act goes through wouldn't have saved them. And a super easy question to ask here would be like, okay, if Donald Trump actually had the interest in letting the ECA play out by its own terms, which they explicitly said they did not want to happen, if that was the plan, why did the Eastman memo even exist? Why were they trying to get Pence to ignore the ECA if they wanted the ECA to play out like the ECA is supposed to? It just doesn't make sense.
That, debate, all this stuff that plays out. And as a matter of fact, Arizona was the first state that was getting ready to object, and then suddenly this event happens. Mm-hmm. So we know that the Trump team had the people in place to go through the formal constitutional process to object to those electors. Mm-hmm. Why would he then also
those objections weren't going to be successful?
An event that would disrupt that? Because after they came back,
but also I don't know if anybody actually says that Donald Trump organized the. Oh, I might die. Oh wait, hold on. I don't think anybody says that Trump organized J6. I don't think anybody's saying like the Donald Trump brought the people to the speech in order to have it become violent. I don't know if anybody says that like violence at the Capitol was the main goal of the speech, or of like Donald Trump had some sort of communication with the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers. I don't know if anybody says that. So it's not even a matter of him organizing the protest. It's him taking advantage of the protest, or him inciting the people who are already going to the Capitol. I'm pretty sure there was already a planned protest at the Capitol without Donald Trump.
The disruption where they suspended.
Oh, but it's because the objections wouldn't have been successful. Like there's no way they would have been.
The January 6th process, if you remember, all of the objections that were getting ready to be filed, they vanished.
Yep.
None of the objections were able to be filed at that point because Republicans basically said, okay, we give up, you can have it, we're gonna stop our objections. So are we to believe that Donald Trump is such a bumbling moron that he organized
hate to break this to you,
constitutional process to object, and then at the same time he created an event that ended the objection process that he and Republicans organized and were actually in the process of executing?
Well, I think the main
I
I
don't know Dan, by the way. I don't know if this dude actually goes up and debates a lot, so I don't know if he has a good answer to that, but this is a really, really easy answer. It's because the objection process wouldn't have gone through. And it's because like the idea of Pence doing it unilaterally was obviously the preferred thing. That's why Eastman repeatedly said, once again, we cannot let the ECA play out by its own terms or something like that. And that's provable. So whether or not it fits into your narrative is irrelevant because that objectively did happen. So if that doesn't fit into your narrative, I guess it's just a bad narrative. But yeah, that objectively happened. That's not something that's disagreeable. And Trump is pretty stupid, so I wouldn't be shocked if he did some stupid shit like that because he is stupid. And the actual process that they were trying to do with objecting to electors just had no, next to zero shot of success.
Why it makes sense is that Pence wouldn't go along with it.
Yep.
Wouldn't go along with what?
Call it the Eastman strategy, more or less.
Yep.
Pence didn't know anything about the Eastman strategy.
What? What? That's okay. That saying that alone just means you're bad faith. Like there's no shot. If you say something like that, you should not be talking about the subject ever in your life, okay? The whole point was to convince Mike Pence to unilaterally choose the electors. That was the whole point. On January 6th in the morning, Mike Pence tweeted out, like this was a public thing, Mike Pence tweeted out that it was unconstitutional to do what Donald Trump was asking him to. Excuse me. This is not a secret. This was very wide open. What?
I'm pretty certain that Pence repeatedly was...
This is a bad faith hack, all right? If you say Pence didn't know about the Eastman strategy, you're a bad faith hack. You're either so stupid that the fact that you're trying to have this technical conversation on this thing you know fuck all about, you're bad faith hack, or you're lying, which...
Saying that it was unconstitutional.
No, those are two. Hold on, those are two different things, right? Because what Patriot Dad is describing was there is a constitutional process to object to the electors, and there was also the Eastman strategy of the vice president simply saying, "I'm not going to certify this election," right? Once you get through the objections, the entire point of the constitutional process for the objections, if there is evidence of pizzas being stolen.
This guy's gonna, oh my God, these dudes are actually gross. They go through and say that, every election has alternative electors. It's just not true. What happens if the electors gets decertified is it goes to a contingent election. If neither can get to 260, it goes to the House. I think it's the House for the VP and the House for the president and then the Senate for the VP. It's not the case that every election, everyone files alternative electors. If that was the case, then you would have more precedent to point to than 1960. You excited for Sarah's next week? Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a good time. We're going to be clobbering. I'm going to move this over a little bit so it aligns better. New Jubilee video is crazy, I'm sure. Aren't they all? But yeah, this is horseshit, by the way. This is just like a dog shit understanding of the law that you're pretending to understand without reading anything. This is what happens, by the way, when you try to be like the super in-depth, like I'm smarter than everybody else kind of debater without doing any of the actual reading. You just look like a fucking moron whenever anybody with any information comes up.
Or pizzas that didn't belong there, and it's presented in that joint session of Congress on January 6th, it actually could change the minds of the people in there, and it could force Pence to say, you know what, there's a lot that we don't know about this, and we need to look at it, so I'm not going to certify it.
So Will, I would love to have you jump up here, Will, because the point that Will has made.
Also, I'm pretty sure, I don't know for sure, I just heard this. I'm pretty sure the grounds by which you decertify electors isn't on the grounds of election fraud. I'm pretty sure that the grounds that you would decertify an elector was on the grounds of the governor not actually signing it, or like there being a problem with the governor's certification, not like a problem with the election certification.
Multiple times about the Eastman letter, and Dan, you're right. John Eastman did write a legal opinion that, by the way, is not the first time this opinion's been written, that the vice president has.
By the way, like a couple months before Eastman wrote it and gave it to Donald Trump, he wrote about how fucking stupid this is, and a court litigated that it was stupid. It was constitutional mischief. So,
Well, maybe, but it wasn't actually tried this time. But it was simply a legal opinion that was written to say that the Electoral College Act was unclear and.
This dude. All right, listen, I don't want to be like a semantic guy, okay? It's called the Electoral Count Act, okay? If you miscite the ECA and you're pretending to have like this super deep understanding of it, you're just lying, okay? It's called, that's not even the name of the legislation. What browser do you use? I use Google. But this is like a picture-in-picture thing. I use Chrome.
Defining the vice president's authority, or really the House's authority, to reject electors in total, which obviously is the reason why the House...
Which is horseshit, by the way. And anybody that brings up this justification, you need to ask them this very simple question. Do you think it's in the spirit of our democracy to let the vice president unilaterally determine the winner of the election? Like somebody with explicit special interests in the election? And then, if they say yes, then say, okay, do you think that Kamala Harris should have certified herself as the winner of the 2024 election? Because she was the vice president at the time, and if the vice president just chooses who the fuck, if the vice president just chooses who the fuck is the president, then what? Okay, wait, hold on. Yeah, if the vice president just chooses who's the president, then you should have no problem with Kamala Harris certifying herself as the winner. She honestly, you could make an argument that she should have because of all of this bullshit, but
the Senate decided that they had to rewrite the bill, passed it in 2022. Now there's a new Electoral College Act in place. But the point is,
the Electoral Count Act, and also the 2022 bill did more than just clarify the role of the vice president, by the way. It also changed the certification process. It clarified it because there were bad faith hacks like John Eastman and Donald Trump who tried to coup the government using it. But the Senate rewriting something for procedural reasons does not mean that the original one allowed for what you were talking about. Even no one agreed that the Electoral Count Act could do that. Like the idea that we would pass a law to let the vice president choose the winner of the election is fucking ridiculous, okay? And even Eastman doesn't agree with that because he said in order to go through with the plan, you would have to violate the ECA. So this is just horseshit. It's just like, this is just regurgitation of talking points without any actual understanding of what happened at all. This is why I typed in like TikTok debate bros. It's because they don't actually care about this country. They don't give a fuck about any of it. They just want to get their dunkaroos. It's gross. It's gross. And I don't know where they get like the faux legal talking points. I don't know if there's like some conservative lawyer that they get it from, like fucking Steve Bannon or something maybe. But it's just it's disgusting actually.
That original opinion was not an opinion that was shared only by John Eastman. John Podesta wrote a very similar opinion as well. Isn't that right, Will?
That's correct. It's very similar to what John Podesta proposed in the scenario. Trump narrowly won the Pizza Party College but lost the popular pizza, right? So if Trump had won the pizza party college but lost,
I've never heard this, so I have to look it up. Keep in mind that the claim is that John Podesta, the chairman of Clinton's campaign, said something similar to the Eastman Plan. I can already see. Oh my god. These fucking bad faith hacks. These are so gross. Genuinely so gross. Later, Podesta issued a statement on backing the people who were asking to be briefed on Russian interference in the 2016 election. The bipartisan electors letter raises very grave issues issuing our national security. Electors have a solemn responsibility under the Constitution, and we support their efforts to have questions addressed. Podesta also goes on to decry a lack of media attention during the campaign to the prospect of Russian interference and calls for further investigation and public disclosure. Is that it? Just saying he supports the electors being briefed? I'll wait for them to give more context to it, which is probably a bad idea because these guys are actually disgusting, and they just want to narrativize. They'll do whatever they can to not actually give any details on anything. But the only thing that I saw was Podesta saying that he supports the electors being briefed, and then maybe them being faithless, which you could say, yeah, maybe that's not great, but that's nowhere even close to this. Nowhere even close to putting the fate of the election in the vice president's hands. Come on.
lost popular pizza. Then they simulated a scenario where Biden threatened to secede the Western Pacific states.
Are we talking about like that wargaming?
Yeah, exactly. But why hold Eastman or Cheesebro like criminally liable?
Because they're just.
Wait, okay. Here's a Fox News ad, or a Fox News article. Podesta backs bid to overturn electoral vote. Has joined the call for some members of the Electoral College that they be made privy of intelligence around the 2016 election. Where is there anything to show that they called on Biden to decertify? Literally anything to show that at all? Why is Trump Captain America here? Because they have to fantasize about their political leaders. They can't actually have a realistic view of them. Because licking the feet of an 80-year-old looks a lot weirder than licking the feet of Captain America.
If they're basing their opinion off of this war game scenario,
pretty certain
they call Democratic governors. They asked them to certify an alternate slate.
No, they didn't.
Send them over. And then they pressured the Democratic Congress and the Republicans.
By the way, that's I don't know where they get these fucking talking points. There were no alternative electors in 2016. This is just like actually 1000% bullshit. That's just not true. There were not alternative electors in 2016. there were certain people within the Clinton campaign. Maybe that's what I think this is what he's talking about. And they just have no fucking conception of how our electoral college process works. There were some people within the Clinton campaign calling for faithless electors, which means that the certified electors go against what they were elected to do. So whenever you vote for the president, you vote for a slate of electors, and that slate of electors is supposed to go to the electoral college and cast their electoral college votes for the president that they were elected for. So if you vote for Donald Trump, you actually vote in a slate of electors who are going to cast their electoral college ballots for Donald Trump. That's the idea. So what the Clinton campaign was doing was saying, hey, you know, there was some suspicious stuff in this election, so the people who are dedicated to casting their electoral college votes for Donald Trump should not be replaced with different electors, but should actually just not vote for the people that they were voted in to vote for. And is that bad? Yeah, probably. I don't support calling for faithless electors. I think that's bad. But first of all, the Electoral Count Act would sort that out. All right. If a faithless elector casted their ballot for the wrong for a different person, you can object to that on that ground, and it probably would get overturned because that's not what the governor certified. But that's not the same thing as casting a different electoral ballot, like getting a whole different slate to submit also their votes without the seal of the governor, and then trying to get the vice president to choose those electors instead. That's a completely separate thing. They're not comparable at all. And the fact that he's just lying to fill in details because he doesn't understand how the process works is bad faith. Is this about the Epstein stuff? No, this is about J6.
In Congress. Via secession.
Also, I don't know where they told Biden to secede. Well, that just sounds 100% made up, because why would you, like, secede from the Union? What does that even mean?
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Was my sentence finished?
No, let him finish, Dan.
And so they leverage secession to pressure these governors.
Leverage secession from the Union?
To certifying for Joe Biden instead of Trump. So it really wasn't
for Joe Biden in 2016. What are you talking about? What?
This man or Cheese Bros idea. It was John Podesta's idea. So why do we hold...
This dude is actually gross. Like, why are you just lying? Why do people feel comfortable just coming out and lying? Like, just bold-faced lying about this bullshit.
Eastman and Cheese Bro accountable, but not John Podesta. It's probably because of the big D by his name.
Well, and by the way, I think we...
Also, asking electors to be faithless or advocating for electors to be briefed on certain national intelligence stuff regarding election interference, that's not illegal, okay? It's not illegal to call on an elector to be faithless. That's not illegal. What is illegal is to pressure the vice president to explicitly break the law in order to instate you as the president. It's not illegal for some person to say that this person should vote against their interests. Are faithless electors illegal? Yeah, so it would depend on the state laws. So these two things are not the same. And also, like, you're completely missing, like, the conspiracy aspect of like the DOJ letter. You're missing the knowingly lying about election fraud claims. You're missing so much in order to make this comparable, because this is kind of like the thing to do if you're trying to disprove a conspiracy claim, is you just pick at one point of the conspiracy and then pretend like that's the whole thing. There's a reason that this is a criminal conspiracy. It's because multiple things went into making this plot.
We're going to put that out of our
SK, I don't know
at this
if
point.
you're muted.
We're going to put that out of our discussion because that was just a legal opinion from an attorney who wrote an opinion.
It was an illegal. It was illegal.
But the second part of your point is something that I want to dive into because Mike Pence has been very clear that at no point were any alternate electors ever presented for anybody to have to make a choice
It's true.
on which one to use. And as a matter of fact,
that's technically true. This is, oh my God, they're so dishonest. Oh my God. So this is technically true. There were never alternative electors presented to the joint session. But it's either because one, they were unable to send them through the official means, or two, because when Chesborough tried to hand deliver the ballots to Vice President Pence's assistant, the assistant refused because Pence made his opinion very clear on not doing it. So it's not like they didn't try. It's that they couldn't get them. They couldn't get them to take them. Just because they were dog shit at delivering the electors, that doesn't mean that they didn't try to deliver the electors, though. That's something very important that you're leaving out. The reason that the electors weren't there wasn't because they didn't try. It was because of sheer incompetence.
In fact, he did an interview, and I'll play the interview here in a second. It's about a clip of it's about 3 minutes long. He did an interview with Chuck.
I know how to engage. If there's something I disagree with, do you guys want to just like finish your
Yeah.
Also, yeah, keep in mind, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6v1, and they've just basically railroaded him for this long. Is this a bunch of Republicans echo chambering themselves? No, this is 6v1 because these people travel in groups and they can't do 1v1s.
take, and then that's fine. Can I respond to like something afterward, or is it?
There's a reason why these two ladies always run lives with each other. It's because they can't do 1v1s.
I gotta keep that on.
Yeah, I guess if you want to respond to me, I'm finished with my point.
That's fair. Go ahead.
So you're saying
Why is the merchant not moving in?
it's the war games thing? Yeah.
The housing's literally it's because I don't have enough.
Those were theories that
Because
they
I
were
don't have
being
enough
talked
money. I
about.
don't think. What is it? 50 silver. I think.
Yeah, and so is he.
You should debate the RC guy. You wouldn't change his mind, but it would be hilarious. Who's RC? Who's RC?
It's no strategy. It was a theory.
It was a theory.
It's never enacted. None of these things were ever enacted.
Pretty sure.
This is also, it's all semantics. It's all semantics because they can't actually engage with anything. When you say, oh, the thing that happened with Eastman, that was just a legal theory. Okay, well, it's also a legal theory by that metric to say, okay, well, if I kill this guy, I think that it would be legal for me to do it because the murder statutes only apply to people, and I think that black people aren't people. Like, that's technically a legal theory, I suppose, but that's not, like, that's blatantly disgusting and illegal, all right? Like, even though I'm phrasing it with legal justification, like, I feel like there could be a legal pathway there, it's clearly bad faith, and this would be illegal. If you're advocating for your person to do something illegal, and Eastman acknowledged that this would be, in fact, illegal, it would be shot down by the Supreme Court, 9-0, all right? If you're advocating for your client to do something illegal, that's a violation of attorney-client privilege, and that makes it, like, you can't tell somebody to break the law on the grounds that it's legal advice. That's not a legal thing for you to do. I'll DM you why he dislikes Democrats? Okay, buddy.
They had, like, they're called, like, fraudulent, like, certificates of ascertainment that were, like, forged or something.
Yeah, but when did anyone ever get those? When was Mike Pence ever presented with those? When did those ever actually
Chesborough tried to give them to Pence's assistant.
Like, the beginning of that strategy involved actual
Isn't that
fraud.
just like a filing error, though? Like, if they filed the certificates...
They're continuing to, like, criminally charge, like, those people that...
Like, so
yeah,
are
Wisconsin.
The certificates certified before they're filed, or they filed before they're certified?
No, they're
Certified before they're
certified
valid or before they're
the
filed.
seal is
Also,
given.
one of these two fuckers, I don't remember who it was. This was a while ago. I think the registrar crash out debate was with one of these two.
Listen very carefully, please. Show me one certificate of ascertainment that was submitted to the registrar that did not have the appropriate electors, that did not have a governor's signature, and that did not have a state seal. Show me.
All of the ones that Trump tried to submit did not have the approval of the governor.
Me from the registrar where those were submitted right now.
What do you want me to show you? Do you want? I can't turn my camera on. What do you want me to show you?
Well, pull it and send it to me from the registrar, and I'll put it on my screen.
Okay, I'm sorry. So the standard of evidence right now
Keep
is that I
tapping
need
that
to
screen,
pull
guys.
the
Keep tapping
certificate
that
of
screen.
ascertainment
Thank
from
you,
the
Jay.
registrar.
Right. That had alternative electors and that did not have a state governor and a state seal on it. Show me.
Were all of the electors that said that they submitted a certificate of ascertainment for the Trump campaign just lying? And were they indicted for fun?
Yes, they were lying because every single state's
Okay,
certificate
you
of
are
ascertainment.
unhinged.
Okay, which
This is
state do you want to
insane.
look at?
Does that indictment not detail
Reinhold.
Chesborough hand delivering
What
false
state?
certificate?
Oh my gosh.
You realize
What
that
state?
if they're fraudulent certificates of ascertainment, why would they even be in the registrar?
Oh,
Yes.
okay. So
Because
all
why
of
would a
this
fraudulent
is
certificate of
all
ascertainment be
of
in the
this
registrar?
is hyperbole, right?
Why
All of
would-
this
why
is
would
just
a-
imaginary
why would a
whatever that
fraudulent-
never actually happened.
Okay, I answered
Because you
your
little
question.
Bluanons are psychotic.
Listen, a very simple question. Why would a fraudulent certificate of ascertainment
Thank you,
be in the
Marilyn.
registrar?
Thank you so much for the swan.
Do you even
Why
know
would
the
they put that in the
process?
registrar?
Do you even know the process of what happens on January or J6?
I know that Eastman said that what they were proposing was
I don't care
unconstitutional.
what
Where I was bringing up the electors and they were like, well, where are these electors in the registrar? And I was like, why the fuck would they be in the registrar if they're unofficial? Like, the whole point is that the governor didn't certify them, because you need Mike Pence to certify them later. That's the whole point.
When the results are rendered, and it has to be sent over to not only the vice president but the Senate parliamentarian before the fourth Wednesday of December.
It's also hilarious. It's hilarious that they're like, oh, well, these electors couldn't have been filed because they were filed incorrectly. Yeah, why do you think we call them fraudulent electors? Why do you think we bring up that this is illegal the whole time? I'm not saying that they filed them the legal way. It seems like your argument is either A, they were just alternate electors, look at 1960 forehead, but also, like, while they weren't filed at all because they weren't filed in the legal way. Yeah, I agree. That's the whole problem. That's why they're fraudulent.
The law, and that's how it's laid out in Title III.
Yes, and no one ever received those. As a matter of fact, Patriot Dad can
It's
play
not
you
true.
the interview of Mike Pence because, see, Mike Pence's story has changed, which is another issue here, Dan. That whenever we talk about these people in government, that something happens and things change and they start doing something different than they had been doing, it raises eyebrows. And whenever Mike Pence is doing interviews and telling people that this story, and then all of a sudden that story changes several days later, it raises eyebrows.
Yep. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to play this real quick. And by the way, T-Bomb, I see you in there.
Obviously, that fake check I cashed didn't intend for them to put the money in. Yeah, true.
I invited you up. I've been on.
Well, if they gave the cashier a fake check, where was the routing number?
Lives with you before. I know you love to talk over people, so I'm just going to ask.
This is a 6v1.
Respectful conversation.
Also, shut the fuck up. You're not trying to have an honest conversation. You're literally, you are narrativizing so hard in order to prevent getting into any of the specifics here. And you're letting, so what just happened? I think Bill talked, and then Nom talked, and then Patriot talked, and then Dan tried to interject when Patriot talked, and he was like, well, no, I'm not done. And then Patriot talked, and then SK talked, and they're like, listen, I know you love to interrupt us. You love to, talk over everybody, but we're trying to have an honest conversation. Get the fuck out of here. No, you're not. You know you're not.
Trying to understand what beliefs, what lies people have believed.
And certainly before he started talking,
There he is.
I'm going to ask you, we'll allow you to talk. We'll be respectful.
Also, and the fact that this one dude, he's not even on here, so I don't know why he cited this to me, but the one dude cited this as like the perfect example to undo all of the J6 narratives. And it's just all of the most brain dead shit in the world. Like, I thought that I'd have to look at my notes at least to combat any of this. This is brain rot. This is like slop debate. I don't know Delta, in regard to the dude Delta told me to debate. That sounds boring as fuck. Like I don't care about talking to like schizophrenics for fun. It's just not. It's not. Talking to those kind of people is just not super fun. Won't lie to you. I just like want to tell them to go to like a mental hospital.
They're gonna have to do the same, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play something real quick, and I'd love to get your guys' perspective.
It's
on
the
what
Mike
we're gonna
Pence
play.
video.
This is Chuck Todd and Mike Pence in August of 2023. Chuck Todd is asking Mike Pence specifically about this alternate electors scheme that everybody sees.
Also, why do you keep calling them alternate electors if you don't even think that they were filed? Why would you use that term if you don't even think they got delivered?
To hang their hat on that says, and to Dan's point, that Donald Trump is an existential threat to democracy. So I'm going to play this, and then I want
Bench
your
staff,
guys'
let's go.
perspective on it.
Because earlier this month,
real quick for the sake of the panel, Patriot Dad.
What's that, Dan?
Just a quick refresh.
Also, keep in mind, we've been watching for probably about 20 minutes, and Dan hasn't gotten to respond to literally anything.
A clearing of the air, if you will.
Yep.
Can we all agree to just shake hands, kumbaya? Just
No, you shouldn't do that to these people.
So far, we've
yeah, of course. I don't appreciate, crap on the second that I come up in the live. But anyways, go ahead.
And fuck, this is something that Destiny has pointed out too, where it's like, whenever a conservative comes up, and this is something that JC pointed out too, whenever a conservative comes up and says like, oh yeah, and I'm so glad that we can have this kind of respectful dialogue, this kind of good conversation, what they mean is that they've engaged in like 7 million different bad faith tactics, but you didn't call them out for any of them, so they're just glad that you're being a cuck. That's what they're saying. Whatever a conservative calls you good faith, it just means like, thank you for being a cuck and letting me lie. Either because like you didn't know what kind of lies I was talking about, you weren't prepared enough for the debate, or because you were just like actually just cucking out to me because you wanted to somehow salvage this bridge that is not worth anything. That's what they mean with like, oh, thank God we can have a good conversation. Not all the time, but like for these people, that's absolutely what it means.
P-Bomb, I have a similar reputation, so don't take it personal. No, it's okay.
All right, here we go.
Oh shit. What's the favorite button?
Because earlier this month you told a colleague of mine here that you didn't know a lot about the efforts to secure fake electors until after the fact. But it was interesting in your book, you brought up the fake slate of electors in a meeting with the Senate parliamentarian on January 3rd. In your book, you said this. I asked her a direct question referring to the Senate parliamentarian. Are there any alternate electors from any state? She told me there were not. I mentioned
the Senate parliamentarian. So this is an argument that you could make against them. If there were no alternate electors from the Senate parliamentarian, but there was a billion plans in order to submit alternative electors, and we saw the electors sneak into fucking state capitals and sign false certificates of the vote, and we have the PDF files, all right, of these fake certificates, that just means they filed them the wrong way, all right? You're accidentally proving that these were false electors. You're doing the whole point on accident.
that I had heard that some alternate electors had been sent from several of the disputed states. So this was on January 3rd. What can you tell us?
The greatest accidental cell phone in the world. Oh my God.
That prompted you to ask this question.
I heard what was being talked about in the press at the time, Chuck, but I thought it was important.
All right, pause right there. Did everybody hear what he just said? Chuck Todd asked him a question about the alternate electors, what he heard about it, and he said...
Why is the audio of this video so bad? It's recording from TikTok. Unless you're talking about the audio from the Mike Pence one, in which case it's probably because this dude's playing it through his phone.
I just heard what was being reported in the press.
People typically stream to TikTok through their phones. I'm one of the base people that does it through TikTok Studio and bites the bullet of how fucking terrible that app is. But most people on TikTok don't have decent audio quality.
Look, in January 2017, I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And under the Constitution, states certify elections. And while there were irregularities in states maybe a half a dozen states around the country that changed the rules in the name of COVID. We challenged those in 60 court cases. Once the courts had reviewed those and the states certified them, I wanted to make sure that we were operating.
Also, where's my Finch?
On
Oh, it's on my head.
in a way that was consistent with the Constitution, consistent with the laws of the country.
I feel like phones are better than this.
That's the reason that I sat down
No,
with the
they're just
parliamentarian.
not.
I looked through the process. I was determined to hear the objections that Republicans were planning to bring, Chuck, and many did bring. I mean, you remember...
You hear that? He said he was determined to hear the objections that Republicans were planning to bring, and many did bring.
Democrats brought objections to electoral college.
What do you think that brought up?
4 elections that Republicans prevailed. Nothing unusual about that.
None of it, right.
But I did ask the parliamentarian.
under the law.
I did ask the parliamentarian very directly, Chuck. I asked her because I was hearing rumors. I was reading in the newspaper that there were alternate electors. I asked her point blank.
Was anybody in the White House telling you
electors from any state? And she said there was not. I don't recall that. I just remember hearing it in the public. And I wanted a definitive
How long
answer
is
whether
this
or not the
debate?
parliamentarian had received any additional electoral
Oh,
votes.
Jesus, we're only a half
So
hour
as you
in.
know, we
Oh my
actually
God, kill me.
changed the language as those electoral college votes.
All right. From there, he just goes on and bloviates about how he wanted to do the Constitution.
Oh my God, wait, hold on. Why did you... That was such a bad point. They let it go on for too long. I think, now, I haven't seen this clip. I almost guarantee you that they were going to go into how there were irregularities in the electors and how they didn't follow the constitutional process. Oh my God, these guys are disgusting. Disgusting. Disgusting.
Constitutional process and all that stuff. So, Dan, I'll go to you first. So, the left has this belief that there was this strategy in play to have Mike Pence accept an alternate slate of electors. And yet Mike Pence, here in an interview with Chuck Todd, has very clearly said that there was no alternate slate of electors that were ever presented for him to even be able to...
This guy is not J6 pilled. I almost promise you. Fuck, I hope he is, but this is such like a disgusting argument.
Thoughts?
I'm not certain on the question.
Well, when we started talking about this, you said that you talked a little bit about the Eastman memo, right? Will had mentioned that
and this explains, oh my God. Okay, so in the debate, you'll see, it'll go up probably tomorrow or the day after. You'll see that I asked the guy, like, okay, didn't Eastman literally reach out to Greg Jacob and talk about how they need to violate the ECA one time in order to delay the election? And he was like, I don't understand what you're asking. Like, what's the proof? And I was like, there's an email of this happening. Do you deny that this is true? He was like, yes, I do deny that. That explains everything. This explains everything now. It's literally just that there's probably just one dude that they go to ask all of their questions about this too. That's just feeding them horseshit. That's just lying to them. I promise you, they have like one J6 plug, kind of like how like whenever Nonfon or Delta talks to somebody about J6, they'll like at me like I'm the J6 plug. I promise you, they just have like a J6 plug that's just lying to them. That's just feeding them horseshit. That's so sad.
Eastman memo is no different than the war game scenario that John Podesta had.
The war game scenario. Wait, what? Podesta played Biden in an election war game and refused to concede in a scenario that looked a bit like 2016. A big popular win for Joe Biden and a narrow electoral defeat, presumably reached after the following weeks after counting the votes in Pennsylvania. For their war game, they cast John Podesta, who is Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman, in the role of Mr. Biden. They expect him, when the votes came in, to concede just as Miss Clinton did. But Mr. Podesta, playing Biden, shocked the organizers by saying he felt that the party wouldn't let him concede, alleging voter suppression, and persuaded the governors of Wisconsin and Michigan to send their pro-Biden electors to the Electoral College. In that scenario, okay, so this is a hypothetical scenario, which didn't happen, by the way. There were no alternative electors sent. There was nobody in the state capitals like there were for Trump's. What are you even claiming here? Was Podesta even in coordination with the Biden campaign for this? This just looks like... It doesn't even look like Podesta was coordinating with the Biden administration to do this. He just said this was a possibility? Is that... Transition Integrity Project was a series of political scenarios in the United States at the beginning of June 2020 involving over 100 current and former senior governor campaign leaders. The exercise examined potential disruptions to the 2020 election. TIP is not an organization, but rather a short-term project run by Project Democracy. This wasn't a plan! So the difference between this is this had no coordination with the Biden campaign at all. Rennie, can you check the VOD and check if we're hearing the same, if you're hearing the same things we are? Hearing what? Like the audio quality?
Sure that we were
electors and how they didn't, or yeah, this happened, but they all of their have like what J6, the war game,
no different than the war game scenario that.
Yeah, it's the same quality. It's bad. I agree. I don't know what you want me to tell you. Yeah. So the war game scenario was literally like this think tank going through and describing what could possibly happen in different outcomes of the election with no ties to the Biden administration. Whereas the Eastman plan was written by a Trump-hired lawyer in order to pressure the vice president to actually go through with that plan. This is disgust. Oh my God.
And it was nothing more than a legal opinion, which was not a unique legal opinion. It's one that has been presented multiple times.
These guys are fucking disgusting. Oh my God.
Electoral College Act, the vagueness of the original Electoral College Act actually...
They were asking to break the ECA. They were not saying that the ECA is kind of vague and we could kind of go around. They were asking to break the ECA. What were you reading? These people, I promise you, they haven't read the Eastman memo. I promise you.
They suggest that maybe the Eastman memo was correct, and that's one of the reasons why they had to rewrite the Electoral College Act.
It's not true.
Anyway, now
they were asking to break the ECA because it's unconstitutional.
Slate of electors. except he's saying that there's not.
I don't believe that demonstrates that Pence is saying that there was not an alternate slate of electors, but maybe more specifically, even if that's what Pence was
that's what he says directly.
He says directly that.
No. Okay, this is there's something, were we just talking about threats to democracy? Yeah, it was literally describing how the Trump campaign could fuck with democracy. And the one that they're talking about is one where Podesta played the role of Biden and he refused to concede, theoretically, if there was actual real proof of fraud. This wasn't a plan to disrupt the election. This was literally theater. This was like the political equivalent to a theater. It wasn't like, this wasn't a plan.
There were alternate slates of electors.
They were never presented to the parliamentarian. I could go out and
I forgot. So there's a difference between no alternate electors and no alternate electors that the Senate parliamentarian was aware of. That's a completely different thing. And they like to play fast and loose with these concepts too, because the Tulsi Gabbard memo is doing the same exact thing, where she's saying, the Obama White House conceded that there was no evidence that Russia was trying to interfere with our election infrastructure. So the fact that they were lying about Russian interference, it's like, wait. No interference with election infrastructure is way different than no interference with the election, period. No alternate electors presented to the Senate parliamentarian is way different than no effort to deliver alternate electors. Is there honestly anything that can change the people, opinions of people who are in this deep? Well, the problem is that these people, I genuinely don't think actually believe this. I think they're lying. I think they're like actually disgusting liars. There's no way that you can see, like, there's no way that you would get this weird thing from the TIP of Podesta playing the role of Biden in a hypothetical scenario, and then use that as an actual piece of evidence and not have the good faith to actually look up to see what the fuck you're even talking about. You're either so retarded that you just like you can't put your pants on in the morning, or you're a bad faith hack. You're lying. Those are the two options. There's nothing else that you could use to describe that.
I could put a document together that said these are alternate slate of electors, but unless they're submitted and certified, it's a piece of paper.
Exactly. When does the certification happen? And that's Millie's critical question.
That's the whole point, was that they weren't certified. They were trying to get Mike Pence to unilaterally certify them. That's the whole point. You guys just don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You've done no reading. You're just regurgitating talking points. This is slop.
Hang on 1 second. Hey, if you're modding in the comments, we gotta have a little bit of grace with people. I want debate to happen in the comments at the same time that it's happening here. If we're gonna mute people and punt people, it's just for egregious people that are spamming, that are coming in here to try to get the live taken down. But I'm okay with having debate in the comments. So let's make sure that we're having grace and we're allowing people to discuss in the comments just as much. Sorry.
I just wanted to point out, because you bring up, well, then why were people prosecuted for this or whatever? That's at the state level. That has to do with the state level. That has nothing to do with the federal level.
Alternative electors for what? On the state level? What? The state level doesn't need electors. The Electoral College is just a federal process. There's no state level Electoral College, is there? No, they're not liars. They're just depending on their side more, being more moral than... No, they are liars. These people are lying. These people are 1000% lying. I'm not saying that every Republican is lying. I'm saying that these people are lying. They are liars.
So, or go ahead, Steve. I was going to say, so as we all know, that kind of presidential elections are kind of a hybrid of state kind of rules about how the election proceeds, like as far as when you can count the votes and whether you use paper or electronic ballots. The states have some discretion and leeway. Same thing with submitting the eventual electors, and I'm just confused about this whole conversation.
Just give me my gold. Just give me my gold.
We all know for a fact that there are fake electors who've been charged with crimes, I think, in Georgia, Arizona, and Michigan. So, I mean, clearly the prosecutors in each of those states were able to present evidence to grand juries about the fact that these people had engaged in fraud when it came to these.
Now, here would be a great question as well. Why do you think these people submitted alternative electors? So if you're admitting that these people signed alternate electors in the state and that they're being prosecuted for it, why do you think they did that? Why do you think they did that? Do you think they just did that for fun with no direction? Do you think nobody directed them to do that? They were just doing it just in case they wanted another elector?
That's at the state level. That doesn't have anything to do with the federal level or Mike Pence or...
Dude, what? I just need to check. Maybe I'm crazy. This is the gaslighting of saying retarded shit so confidently. Is there any state level electoral college? Okay. Okay. I just had to check. I just had to make sure.
Donald Trump and the process that was taking place on that day, because those slates never made it to Mike Pence.
Well, who do you think your act of signing them and creating the fake...
At the state level.
But it's still a crime.
What do you mean at the state level? What would... What else would electors be used for other than the presidential election? What are you talking about?
Not allowed to like have a fake group of people that weren't.
No, it's not. It's not a crime. As a matter of fact, this has happened multiple times.
1960.
It's illegal to have an alternate slate of electors, just like
That's
they
true.
challenged the results in Florida back in 2000. Am I correct?
No. Dude, these people don't even know the Steelman arguments. 2000, the election was already determined by the time the December 15th came around. They didn't have time to file alternate electors. The election was certified by the Supreme Court by that point. They didn't have time to... There would be no point. It was already decided. You didn't even have the strut. Like, the Steelman one would be 1960, and there's differences there, too. But... you didn't even use the right one. 2000, there was no alternate electors.
Right, and other places. And when there's ongoing litigation, if they don't have an alternate slate, the candidate, if things get overturned due to litigation or whatever, the candidate has no recourse if they don't have an alternate.
Right.
Yeah, I'll point out.
Yes, that's not how the process works. It goes to a contingent election. If they can't decide on a slate of electors, it's true that you can submit an alternate slate of electors with approval from the governor, by the way. You could do that and then have that, and then whenever the electors get objected to, the alternative electors could be certified. That's a way to do it, but to say that there would be no recourse without alternative electors is not true, because if there's only one slate of electors and it gets objected and thrown out, which by the way has never happened, it goes to a contingent election. What happens in a contingent election is that the House chooses the president and the Senate chooses the vice president. That's why if these people had any fucking brain, they would have actually gone out of the way to read the Eastman memo instead of just speculating about it or regurgitating whatever the fuck they heard about it. If you actually read the Eastman memo, that was part of the plan, was to either have Mike Pence unilaterally choose the electors or for Mike Pence to deem neither elector slate to be valid and then try to force the election into contingency and make the House choose Donald Trump as the president because they had a Republican majority. But I mean, I guess fuck nuance, right? I mean, it's easier to just guess, I guess.
About Florida, did the Democrats submit an alternate slate of electors to?
Where was it submitted?
Well, that's what I'm saying. They go up to Washington, D.C.
They tried to give it, by the way, they tried to give it to Mike Pence's assistant Chesbrough flew to D.C. with the alternate electors and tried to give it to Pence's assistant. Pence's assistant refused to take them because Pence already made clear that he thought that it was constitutional mischief in order to go through with the alternate electors plan. That's why they were never submitted. Not this bullshit about it never existing. It's just like, this is actual real gaslighting. Like, yeah, you didn't see all these people in the Michigan Capitol force their way in or try to force their way in so they could sign the certificate. You didn't see the group of the I think it was the PA electors on camera signing the certificate. You never saw that. They were never submitted. Where were they? Where are they in the registrar?
In Washington, D.C. They were submitted to NARA.
Right. There was not a fake slate of electors, basically seated in Florida when Bush v. Gore. Right.
So how do you define the difference between a fake slate and an alternate slate?
Because they haven't.
It's a good question.
Basically, they decide which party wins the state, and that slate of electors gets submitted to D.C.
So what if there's a challenge to that slate of
That
electors?
didn't answer. How do you determine what's a fake slate of Is it possible to have a fake slate of electors? Is any alternatives, is any slate that isn't officially certified by the government, necessarily an alternative? Is there any way for them to be a fake slate? How do you determine a good faith alternative elector and a bad faith fake elector? How do you determine the difference? I'm so fucking stupid. How do you determine that difference?
Because if you remember
in most states, the AG certifies and sends electors. This is just made up. That's just not true. It's the governor. It's the state executive. You're just lying. Why? Why would you make that up? Why would the attorney general certify a slate of electors? I just don't get why Republicans just lie and lie and lie. For what?
Remember the Nixon JFK race of 1972, 71, whatever.
1960. Oh my God.
Challenge to the state of Hawaii, and both parties submitted alternate slates of electors because the challenge was not.
What was the difference? Was it going behind media's back? Was it without the explicit approval of the governor? Was it with no plan to pressure the vice president to unilaterally choose it? Or was that the case in 1960? It wasn't. That wasn't the case. That's what makes them different. Okay.
Not the challenge in the courtroom had not been completed yet, so there was an alternate slate of electors submitted there.
Anyone commit fraud signing?
But what define fraud?
This dude is drunken mastering them, because this dude doesn't know. He's not like a J6 master, but he's just really, really apt at pointing out that these people also have no fucking idea what they're talking about. No idea at all what they're talking about.
That case, because there was a challenge that was happening. There were cases that were still ongoing in Atlanta, or in Georgia and Arizona and Michigan.
All of
the same exact scenario.
Which, by the way, none of them gave any evidence. By the way, the reason that a lot of these cases got thrown out on standing was because they didn't even prove that there was reasonable suspicion of malfeasance in these elections. They didn't bring anything other than, I think it was ruled that, the one opinion from the judge said there was nothing but circumstantial evidence and hearsay, just because they thought a bunch of sworn affidavits were evidence of widespread U.S. election fraud. This was just it was laughable how fucking grossly incompetent these people were in trying to overthrow our democracy. But for some reason, these people fell for the bullshit. These people fall for it. They're just had a phone call, boys. I'm sorry. We're going to have to get off it. Okay.
Was playing out.
Right, and see, in Hawaii, they called it for Nixon. That's why there was recounting and all those types of things going on. Litigation. Had there not been an alternate slate, once all of that was done and it flipped in favor of Kennedy by 107 votes, Kennedy wouldn't have gotten those EC votes because
what happens? Oh my god, I hate the people that like just quiz people. Like they don't actually want to have a conversation, so they just quiz people. But for fucking bad faith losers like this, who by the way do that all the time, these people all exclusively just do the like, well, have you ever heard of an alternate elector? No, tell me what an alternate elector is. Like these fucking bad faith losers that do that all the time to these people, I would love to say, okay, what happens when a candidate doesn't get to 260? Can you tell me? Can you please tell me what happens when a candidate doesn't get to 260 in the Electoral College? I was listening to an earlier part in really not going to Trump intended for the crowd to go to the Capitol. It seems like whenever Donald Trump was organizing the speech on January 6th, he wasn't intending to send the crowd to the Capitol for violence. I don't think so. I don't think that was the point of the speech there. Do you think Trump intended for the crowd to walk to the Capitol? I think so, yes, because I think there were already plans of people going to the Capitol. I think that was already a confirmed thing that there would be groups protesting at the Capitol. I think that was already confirmed.
There wouldn't have been those.
I'm also gonna point out that it is not lost on anyone who's been following the lawfare campaign that Atlanta, that Fannie, whatever her name is.
Fannie Willis.
True, Fannie Willis.
I like Fannie.
Arizona and Michigan, which are all run by radical left-wing Democrats, are the ones who created this concept of fake electors.
Pivot.
It's always been known as alternate electors.
Yeah.
And I know the charge of the left. I know the charge on the left is always, well, there's actual charges out there and people are there's been sentenced. Yeah. Well, you know what happens when the whole point of lawfare, I know you guys know this. I know T-Bomb, you know this. I know Dan, you know this. There's a very specific.
And these people will claim it's lawfare even though they have no fucking idea how the law works. It's gross. He explicitly said to walk. Yeah, I know. He said, I know you'll peacefully march over to the Capitol. Like he said that during the speech. I know.
Purpose for lawfare. It's to destroy personally and financially the targets of their lawfare campaign. So,
by the way, Trump was found guilty. Okay, he was found guilty 31 times in New York. His argument against the J6 claim was not that he didn't do it, but that he deserves presidential immunity because trying to challenge the election is an official act. And we have him on video in the classified docs case saying, this is classified. I should have declassified it, but here it is anyway. So to act like any of these cases were lawfare, I guess there's kind of an argument for the New York one if you want to claim that all of the juries were bought out, maybe. But to claim that these were lawfare is it's just horseshit. It's bullshit. It's bullshit.
How many times, or I'm not going to ask it that way. It is not lost on me. It is not lost on me that somebody who is the target of a state prosecution, a prosecution which, by the way, has basically unlimited resources, which will go after their target, and to the point of bankruptcy, will accept a plea bargain simply to be able to move on with their lives. This happens all the time. It's the whole purpose of the lawfare campaign is to destroy people. Personally and financially, so I don't accept the idea that somebody has been convicted of fraud in Arizona or in Michigan as evidence that Donald Trump organized a campaign to try to steal a pizza party. To me, it sounds a lot more.
I would love to have a discussion with this person, but I know for a fact that right as soon as he gets trapped in a corner, he'd be like, "You Democrats are still talking about January 6th," even though he just spent he spent hours lying about it on the election trail. But there's never any consequences for people being disgusting bad faith hacks.
More like the standard lawfare tactics that we've seen played out over the last 4 years in state after state after state, and prosecutor after prosecutor after prosecutor that has a political vendetta, an axe to grind.
And just so we're aware, the filing false documents charges were dropped in Georgia.
I don't think that's 100% accurate.
That is 100% accurate.
Can I also bring something up?
Go ahead.
I know that Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution, it gives state legislators the authority to appoint electors in a manner of their choosing as well.
Yep.
Right, so I think that's kind of overlooked a lot by especially elements of the left when they say that it's a fake state of electors, right?
Well, it's because the state didn't.
Yeah, the state didn't certify them. You fucking idiot.
Right, you can make that argument.
The state didn't appoint them. No, you can't. That's not an argument to make. That's true.
They didn't certify them. Yeah, they didn't certify them, which is why they were never sent.
So why would you bring up that they can appoint them however they want to? Yeah, that's true. They didn't appoint the electors
To the Senate or to the House to be considered.
The Senate parliamentarian. I have a
the Senate.
question real quick.
Sure.
Why is it that Jamie Raskin in 2017,
Irrelevant.
when we're listening to them bring their objections, why does he come forth with his objections and saying that there was electors not lawfully certified? Why do you think he said that?
I don't know.
Why does it matter?
What was it, Jamie?
Irrelevant. Jamie Raskin has nothing to do with this.
2017. Do you want me to play the video for you?
I mean, sure. I'm
Also,
just curious.
claiming electors were not lawfully certified is a different thing. It doesn't matter. They're stuck on the thing. Dan just doesn't know a lot about this. The problem isn't filing alternate electors. That's not the problem with this plot. The problem was to get Mike Pence to certify them unilaterally, and the problem is that they did it wrong. And you acknowledge that they did it wrong because the Senate parliamentarian has no record of them.
Could you restate what you said?
Right. So when Donald Trump won in 2017, Democrats brought multiple
16.
objections, and one of the objections that was
Certified
heard on the
in
floor
17.
was by Jamie Raskin, and he said that the reason for his objection was there was electors not lawfully certified.
And we're talking about the 2016
That
election
changes nothing.
one?
Correct, but the
Dude, I'm
Jan
getting my
6
ass handed to
fell in
me.
17.
This changes nothing.
Wait.
Yeah, I think Millie kind of advanced the ball on that one because I'm curious where you're
Millie's a
going with it
retard too, by the way.
Just real quick. Oh, what
I have an objection because 10 of the 29 electoral votes cast by Florida were cast by electors not lawfully certified.
I object to the votes from the state of Wisconsin, which should not be legally certified. Mr. President.
What do you think you were cooking with there? Objecting to the electors isn't illegal.
Jamie Raskin said that.
Lil Bro's not cooking. That's not illegal.
Is he claiming that there were fake electors that were submitted?
No. Oh my god.
That's certainly what he's suggesting. In
No, it's not.
Jamie Raskin
Oh my god, these fucking idiots.
deal about there being, pizza party, bad pizza tickets going on.
Actually mentally disabled, I swear to God.
I don't know what that code word is for.
Well, we're on a conservative live, so we have to be careful. We can't talk about e-words.
The first Tuesday in November, that day is like a pizza party, and the things you cast themselves would be like pizza slices, so you can just go from there. Those machines are like pizza ovens.
Okay. Because conservatives have to speak like 4-year-olds on this app so they don't get nandered.
Don't worry, you talk like 4-year-olds anyway.
Those counts that were relating to filing false documents that were dismissed here just a few weeks ago are counts 14, 15, and 27.
I'm getting
those all have to do with
shit
filing
on.
false
I'm
documents,
trash.
and those were dismissed. Trump was only charged with 2 of them, but those 3 charges were dismissed from the racketeering case. And then in the springtime, counts 5, 28, and 38 were dismissed against Trump relating to that phone call. That phone call was tossed out.
No,
Yes, back in the spring of this year.
20 other.
They dropped counts 5, 28, and 38 against Trump in the springtime. Those were relating to the phone call. They threw that phone call out of the case, and then now.
Wait, why? Why did they throw that phone call out of the case? Please tell me why. These people are so fucking disgusting because they'll just lie. And this is the same thing that Rob Noor does. It's literally exclusively just narrativizing. They'll give you a narrative about what happened, and then you ask them for any details, and then you realize that the narrative that they gave you was complete and utter horseshit. My guess is that that phone call got thrown out. I'm not certain, okay? I'd have to look it up. They probably dismissed that phone call because communicating with state executives is an official act. That was probably the immunity decision. Which doesn't mean that Trump wasn't guilty of it. It just means that it's beyond criminal prosecution. Okay? It's the same reason why Republicans were doing the fucking stupid thing where they were like, oh, didn't all of Trump's charges get dismissed? Isn't he found innocent? And then they were saying, like, what they're actually talking about is he was either found presidentially immune or he had a pending appeal. Yeah, it's gross.
Now, just several weeks ago, they dropped counts 14, 15, and 27, which all have to do with filing false documents. And Trump.
I wonder why.
Was only charged with 2 of
You'll
those
never say though.
This last time.
I wonder why they dropped those.
Against him, right?
I wonder why they dropped those chain charges. If only you would have said why they dropped the charges.
I think 5 of Trump's charges have been dropped, so I'll go pull his
Why?
indictment really quick, and I'll tell you how many that leaves.
Why were those charges
I
dropped?
just want to get back to something that the host was talking about, the whole concept of lawfare, which I kind of reject that whole idea.
Oh, we got a new guy.
And the reason
T-Bomb,
for that
please
is,
help.
we all know that when Donald Trump ran for president in 2016, one of the favorite things that people were shouting at his rally and that Donald Trump would laugh along to and also
Lock her up.
talk about was, locking her up, meaning that he's going to lock up Hillary Clinton if he were elected. So
That's
he
an
talked
okay
about this
talking
for a long
point.
time.
They're just going to say that Hillary Clinton deserved it.
Spends 4 years
Emails,
as
forehead.
president, has all the resources of the Attorney General and the Department of Justice, and is never able to bring a single charge against Hillary Clinton. And then he also implements what's known as the Durham investigation, which he said was going to bring down
The Durham report was a special counsel. That's fine.
And after, I forget, it was an extremely long investigation. It cost several $1 million, and it did not end up
The Durham report's fine.
bringing a single, basically, nobody got, there was 2 pretty low-level attorneys, I think, that ended up getting indicted. They were both found not guilty. So not a single guilty
Linesmith.
Plea or anything.
But it did reveal that Crossfire Hurricane should have never happened, right? That
Hold on, Anthony.
No, it didn't reveal that. Oh my God, they're even lying about this. Didn't the Durham report find that there was probable cause to open Crossfire Hurricane, that they just didn't have the probable cause in order to get the FISA warrants? But they found that there was nothing improper with opening the investigation? Isn't that true? But, I mean, again, fuck nuance when you can just lie and get what? That's either 33 followers or 20. That's either 23 followers or like somebody gifted to this person, even though he's just like blatantly wrong about even the shit that you should be like, as a conservative, you should know a pretty decent amount about Crossfire Hurricane, because that's one of the only like genuine examples of corruption that favors the Democrats. And even that you're just fucking wrong on. I'm pretty sure they had, I don't think opening Crossfire Hurricane was found improper. But, Slay Girl.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so just saying, he threatened to do lawfare, but the problem is that his kind of theories of why people had committed crimes, there was no evidence behind it, so he was unable.
That's not true. That's just not true. That's not what happened with the Hillary. That's not what happened with Hillary.
Hold on, everyone pause for a second. Everyone pause for a second. So, T-Bomb, I know you haven't been here the whole time, and I just kind of want to make sure we set the ground rules. So, we're trying to allow people the opportunity to talk, but when gaslighting happens and someone jumps in, like Nam just did, then we're gonna dive down the rabbit hole of what you just said, because it's not true, right? So
These people have been gaslighting the entire fucking time, by the way.
I mean, if there's something that you, and I think we talked about this, if there's something
off base or something. Okay.
If something is totally off base, like Dan, I think I've interrupted you a couple times and gone down a few rabbit holes and tried to circle you back again. But T-Bomb,
yeah, all of these people, all of these like conservatives were absolutely lying, have been lying the whole entire time, by the way.
The lock Hillary up. I mean, that didn't come out of a vacuum. That didn't come out of nowhere. If you remember earlier that year in July, you had James Comey who came out
Opened
and made
the
a unilateral
investigation.
decision without supposedly coordinating with
You guys
the
are
Attorney
actually the fucking stupidest people in the world. If you're saying that this wasn't lawfare because Comey came out and announced an investigation, in order to secure an indictment, you need to investigate. If you're using an FBI investigation as predicate to say that the Hillary Clinton investigation wasn't lawfare, then you could say the same exact thing for the Trump thing. All of them had probable cause to open an investigation. So did Crossfire Hurricane, believe it or not.
that he was not going to recommend charges for her destroying classified documents that were on her server.
She didn't destroy classified documents. That's not true. It was a staffer. It was a staffer.
Basement, I believe it was in her bathroom, that had classified documents on it. The only way you get there, to get those to that server, is if someone had taken them and put them on that server. We have the SIPRNet, right? So we have classified environments, classified networks. The only way you get those things from a classified environment to an email server is if someone does that intentionally. And she used it. And that server, all of that information was under subpoena, and she destroyed it instead of turning it over.
I wonder how this person felt. I wonder how this person felt about the Signal stuff.
Context for lock her up. Her classified documents case was egregious.
All right, but Trump saying I should have declassified this when I was president, but I didn't. But here it is anyway. That's not egregious. Donald Trump telling Greg Jacob, or yeah, it was Donald Trump. Donald Trump telling Greg Jacob just say the election was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman. That's not egregious.
James Comey actually rattled off the litany of crimes that she had committed, and then at the end of that speech, I believe it was July 5th, actually, the end of that speech, he said, but we're not going to prosecute it. So then Trump's response was, lock her up, because she had committed crimes. She was not a president. She was not a sitting president that had declassification authority or had access or had
she was
the
the Secretary
ability
of State,
to declassify and share anything.
Based. Donald Trump did declassify it, even though he said he didn't, because he can just declassify it with his mind. True. Telekinetic declassification. True.
She had no right, no legal authority to have those classified documents outside of SCIFs at all, but she did.
Right.
So,
and I'll say,
so now hold on, I'm not done yet. So we had so he says lock her up.
Also, oh my God, this is gross. Do we remember the host saying, yeah, T-Bomb, listen, we're not going to go on long diatribes, okay? If you point something out and I feel like you're gaslighting me, I'm going to cut you off and we're going to go on a deep dive on this thing. And then he just says something like that, and T-Bomb's like, wait, hold on a second. And he's like, wait, no. I wasn't finished. And he's just going to gish gallop him. This is why I don't go on those big conservative panels a lot on TikTok, is because they're all bad faith hacks. All of them. All of these people who run in PACs, all of these people on this panel, they're bad faith. There's no point in engaging with people like that.
Then when he gets into office, and Donald Trump has spoken about this several times, he made a decision not to pursue it because it would tear the country apart. Those were his words.
That's hilarious.
That's exactly what he said.
That's hilarious.
Because there's.
By the way, Merrick Garland did the same exact thing for Trump. He just ended up going in the other direction. But Merrick Garland, the reason that these charges didn't get announced earlier was because Merrick Garland said that he was afraid of the divisive effect that charging a former president would do. So just as a reminder, it's the same exact thing for Biden's attorney general. But
A precedent where you just don't go after the previous administration.
Right.
Like they kind of just respect the fact.
Sorry, Jessica. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, they usually just respect the previous administration, and they don't use this type of lawfare to go after
lawfare
the
is
previous administration.
prosecuting
And
people with
that's what
probable
everybody
cause.
was
That's
saying
what
whenever
lawfare
they
means.
started going after Donald Trump like they did. We all kept saying, you guys are just setting up this precedent where every time an administration leaves office and a different party is taking office, you're going to have these people prosecuting all the people that were in there before, where there had been this respect before. And now it doesn't exist because it was pushed so hard through the impeachment trials and all of those things. And I wanted to add that Jeff Sessions' words to Congress under questioning was, I would say the Department of Justice can never be used to retaliate politically against opponents, and that would be wrong. And
it's
that
not.
was in November of 2017.
It's not being used for that.
Original point. Basically,
And by the way, it's being used for that when Donald Trump is literally signing executive orders removing security clearances from anybody who works with particular law firms, and federal grants from anybody, not even law firms in general, anybody who works with a particular law firm, or directing the Department of Justice directly to investigate somebody who cooperated with Jack Smith. That's the kind of weaponization that I imagine Jeff Sessions is talking about. But I know for a fact SK and Milley have no problem with that. They defended that. So this is horseshit. They defended that in the debate that I had with them. So they're just lying.
No, Clinton was not charged with any crimes during Trump's term, 2016 to 2020. Also, the Durham investigation did not result in a single guilty verdict. And again, that was
not true. Durham did, but unless this guy might be dishonest. I don't know why we can't just read the shit that we're talking about. Why, if you're gonna be talking about something like this, read it. Oh my god. Or at least hedge about it. Like, Kleinsmith pleaded guilty, so technically it wasn't a verdict by a jury, but Kleinsmith pled guilty to falsifying, falsifying probable cause for FISA warrants. So why would you say that? Like, there obviously was a guilty verdict. Kleinsmith literally pled guilty, but hey, partisan hackery transcends no bounds.
If you want to talk about lawfare, that was Trump's attempt to find out the origins of the Russia investigation and accuse the people who had done that of crimes. And he said it was going to take down the Clintons and the Obamas, which means it was specifically initiated to take down his political opponents, okay?
Sorry, T-Bob, stop there for a second, T-Bob.
Sparing the stuff about how Donald Trump didn't want to do lawfare and how he didn't
The same exact guy saying, stop there, T-Bomb, stop there. That's the guy who did the, excuse me, I'm not done. Fuck you. Literally gross. Okay.
Like, you know,
all right, T-Bob, we can stop the gaslighting for a second. Stop there for a second,
Oh
T-Bob.
my god.
T-Bob, 1 second. I do.
1v6, by the way.
So
Or
stop.
2v6 now.
Have you read the Durham report? Have you read the Durham report?
He hasn't read the Durham report either.
But have you read the Durham report?
He hasn't read the Durham report either.
Okay. So you're right. And when was the Durham report released? Under which administration? Which Department of Justice?
I think it was under the Biden administration.
That's right.
The investigation was conducted under Trump.
When he lays out a series of crimes, collusion that happened between Obama, James Clapper, James Comey, John Brennan, Susan
Never
Rice,
charged with collusion.
and Biden. The FBI, he lays out all the
Never charged with corruption.
details of Crossfire Hurricane, how it was originated, the Steele dossier, who funded it. He laid all that out. So tell me why the Department of Justice decided to do nothing with it.
Under Merrick Garland, by the way.
And they couldn't pursue anything against anyone.
Christ.
Yeah, you're right. Because hold on. Because Biden's
and they lost with egg on their faces. Okay.
Yeah, they
were worried about 34 payments to an attorney instead. That's why.
They took 2 cases to trial in the D.C. courtroom. They took 2 cases to trial in a D.C. courtroom, which, by the way, were low level.
It was a bust.
This dude's coping too, by the way.
And it was a taxpayer money.
All right, I'm not doing gaslighting. I'm sorry, guys. Hey guys, I'm not doing gaslighting tonight. We're not accepting everything.
This whole panel has been gaslighting. Okay, you just won't. You actually, I agree that dude was wrong. Okay, but you guys are absolutely 1000% no better than that person was. You guys are actually probably worse because you're lying about way more important shit. Yeah, you are actually. It's funny when you say I'm not doing the gaslighting because you are actually the one that is doing the gaslighting. You are specifically the one that is doing the gaslighting, but that's fine.
He just said it's complete and total gaslighting. I'm not doing it tonight.
Right. And this right here is what I'm trying to tell you guys, and what I've been the whole time I've been on this app when I've been talking about the three-letter agencies and the things that they've been doing and how they've made people believe these things. Because this guy was a perfect example right here. He has no idea.
Why are you saying the three-letter agencies made you believe these things, and then you're citing a special counsel report? And you're citing FBI investigations from James Comey. Why the... This...
Know what he's talking about. And he's gonna. It is going to be it is going to be a rude awakening whenever this stuff all comes out, and you guys are all left standing there going, "Wait a minute, they lied to us."
Nothing's come out, by the way.
Of course it did.
Still waiting for that.
I guess there was over talking, but there weren't. You didn't the claim.
Well, you can't with him, and this is. I was a little bit suspicious when he requested to come up in the first place, because I've been on multiple panels with him, and all he does is talk and filibuster. He doesn't give you an opportunity to.
You've got 5 people on this panel. 6 people on this panel. What do you mean filibuster? You're 6v1ing.
We've seen him do this multiple times. So the problem is, and this is the origin of why.
This is why they travel in packs.
Is because there are people on
echo. This is an echo chamber. This is like I can't think of a more clear echo chamber.
Have made a name for themselves, gaslighting and creating propaganda, and he's a perfect. You haven't seen it. He's a perfect example of it. He just came up here and he made a claim that the Durham report was basically a giant waste of time. It didn't highlight any crimes, which is demonstrably false. What's worse is he hadn't even read the whole. He hadn't even read the whole thing. I asked him if
he hasn't
read
either,
it.
though.
He's like, I've read
Host hasn't read that either.
So how are you gonna just whitewash?
He said there was no probable cause. He definitely hasn't read it either.
Specific details of the origins of Crossfire Hurricane and pretend like it didn't happen and it doesn't matter without actually reading it.
Yeah, he probably read ProPublica article about it or a Politico article about it, right? Or a few headlines, right?
Well, even if that were the case, this disproves the claim. It should be easy.
True.
I've already disproved the claim.
We can disprove the claim. It's simple.
If he's still in here real quick, I did look that up whenever he asked me to. I just didn't really get the chance to chime in.
Yep.
Trump has had 13 charges against him in Fulton County. 5 of those charges have been dropped. So he has 9.
For what?
8 pending
Why?
charges.
Why?
Hey, before
What are those
I
charges
lose
for?
an SK, I was going to echo something you were saying earlier about the president and them not opening Pandora's box about all these indictments, right? People forget, and I'm not a fan of Obama at all, but even when Obama was questioned on him pursuing criminal charges against Cheney and Bush when it came to war crimes, he said the same thing kind of Trump did, that we're just going to move forward. We're going to look forward, right?
Right, because
Based.
it's been a precedent.
Let presidents be criminals again.
There's
Based.
been a precedent where the administrations didn't go after the previous administrations. They basically just said, all right, you guys are done, whatever.
And I'm not going to deny the fact that Obama didn't pursue the IRS against political opponents. That's a whole other story.
Yeah,
but when it came to him coming to election and election rhetoric,
So there was no precedent.
that was the tone the Obama administration had.
Was there precedent or wasn't there? You're literally saying, yeah, there was precedent that we didn't go after that. I'm not going to concede that former presidents didn't go after their political. You're trying. That's, oh my God.
You can refer to things that you haven't read in entirety if you've read enough to get the substance of
These guys haven't read it either.
There were
Always remember, these people haven't read it either. I'm pretty sure in the summary it says that Durham found that there was probable cause to open Crossfire Hurricane, because if you have somebody who's associated with the Trump administration talking about potential collusion with the Trump administration, that's probable cause. I don't understand what else would probable cause could possibly be. There was reason to open that investigation, and the fact they said there wasn't shows that these people didn't read that report either. They're pro-clutching.
There were actual crimes outlined in the Durham report.
That is true,
there
though.
were criminal referrals, many of them that were sent from the House of Representatives up to the Attorney General's office. The Durham report did not.
Why would the Durham? Maybe this is a process I don't understand. Why would the Durham report cause the House to refer for criminal indictments? if it was a special counsel. The special counsel delivers. Durham was a special counsel report, right? And the special counsel delivers the report directly to the attorney general. Why would that have to go through the House?
Drop until the Biden administration. Do you really think Merrick Garland was going to go after any of those people that committed those crimes that were laid out in the Durham report?
They did.
Joe Biden was one of them.
Dude, these guys are actually fucking retards. They did. They went after Kleinsmith. There were guilty pleas from the Durham report.
That we've had Democratic AGs go after Joe Biden's son. I think
they were forced to. They were forced to publicly.
And they went after the least that they possibly could.
That it wasn't.
Doesn't that directly, the fact that you're saying, oh, well, we know that Biden's attorney general wouldn't go after any Democrats except for Biden's own son. How does that not directly contradict what you're saying?
Why are we so certain that all of a sudden Merrick Garland is so incapable of carrying out the duties of his office?
Because he's shown us over and over and over.
Has Merrick Garland...
It's not that he's incapable. It's that he doesn't want to. Look, there's a simple answer to
Thank
this
God.
question.
Oh my God.
The question is not whether or not he's incapable or capable.
That's fire.
In every instance, there's a very simple question of why did they not do? Why did the Department of Justice not take up any of the referrals from the House? Why did they wait in Hunter Biden's case?
Because the referrals from the House are going to necessarily be a political thing. It's possible that somebody in the House read the Durham report and then made particularized referrals that the special counsel didn't make. But if you're saying, why didn't they listen to the House on the potential prosecutions, it's because, well, that would be political. That listening to a political body's referrals as to who should be prosecuted is by definition a political prosecution. So that's the first one. The second one is, we don't know. These intelligence agencies often don't give the public a whole lot of information on their intelligence unless it's in the form of a special counsel, which isn't affiliated. And it's because, that's just not what the FBI is in the business of doing. The FBI shouldn't be in the business of announcing every time they open an investigation and whatever that investigation found immediately. That's not what the FBI is there to do. So to ask, well, why didn't the FBI open an investigation? This is another Rob North thing. Why didn't the FBI open an investigation? We don't know. A lot of times we don't even know if they did. It's just, there's not a lot of public information on it.
Until the potential to bring charges had expired, and when they do, they bring the lowest level charges they possibly can. Why did they do all that? It's because they wanted to.
Or maybe because there's no evidence of this giant fucking sex trafficking money laundering ring for Joe Biden or for Hunter Biden. Maybe because Burisma really wasn't that big of a deal. Maybe.
It's that simple. It's because they
wanted evidence. Why doesn't Donald Trump release it on Twitter?
True.
Well,
good question.
First of all, technically, he doesn't have possession of it.
Whoever does.
Technically, well, we don't know who does. We do know that
the FBI raided his house to get it back.
Exactly, but
I forget how to get out of.
Story for another day. So,
how do you get out of the cart?
But technically, as far as we all know publicly, the DOJ has possession of this, and there's been litigation between John Solomon and Kash Patel with the DOJ over that document because Donald Trump declassified it on December 9th. I can put it up as my background. I'll do that.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Where's Dismount?
I'm probably going to wrap this up here in just a couple of minutes. I actually do have a job I got to do tomorrow, and I got to get up early. But I want to continue this conversation maybe next week and do a little bit more promotion and see if we can get some. Dan, I appreciate you coming in, and I'd love to have you back again. This was a great conversation.
No, it wasn't. You guys were actually gaslighting him the whole time. Again, great conversation means thanks for cucking out and not fact-checking me on anything so I could just lie up here with impunity. That's what it means. Oh, I think when you grapple... Oh, okay, there we go. I found it. Okay. Yeah, what a terrible discussion. I was going to watch another one, but my girlfriend's coming over. I didn't realize how early she was coming. So okay, well, I guess that's a good place to leave off on. Me being trash at this game. Okay. Well, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. God, what hacks. And by the way, just to keep in mind, the context as to why I watched that was because some dude came up and was talking about like, oh yeah, I know a lot about January 6th. You can see all of it on my YouTube channel. And that's what the YouTube channel is. Oh my God. I love seeing the quality of my opposition here.